There are 7 basic poker strategies that every poker beginner should know. These are some of the top bread and butter techniques that I have used throughout my entire professional poker career, and I think that some of these might help you out as well, so without any further ado, let's jump into it. Number 1, let it go. One of the first things that I had to learn the hard way when I was first starting out in poker is you can't bluff a calling station. Now, a calling station is one of these recreational players. I call them our fishy friends. They just play the game for fun. They play all sorts of junky, trashy hands. They are not watching a video like this. They do not try to improve their game. I'm sure you've encountered these players before, and the key takeaway here is that you can't bluff them. Let me give you an example. So you raise it up with the King of Hearts and the Jack of Spades, and once again, one of our fishy friends calls. So we know they're going to have a ton of different hands here. Flop comes down with the 7 of diamonds, 6 of spades, and 5 of diamonds. Guys, I'm not going to pull any punches here. This flop is an unmitigated disaster for our hand. We have absolutely nothing on this board, and crucially, this board has so many straight draws, flush draws, pair plus flush draw, pair plus straight draw, 2 pair possibilities, 3 of a kind possibilities, and on and on. I'm gonna tell you straight up that your best play, your most profitable play here is to simply check and give up. Bottom line, guys, it is absolutely crucial that you understand that you cannot bluff these fishy players on a board like this, which is highly coordinated and connected. When you absolutely miss the flop like this, the best thing you can simply do is simply check, fold your hand, and move on to the next one. Number 2, own the button. So what you need to understand about the game of poker is that the button is the best seat at the poker table. I'm actually going to put the image on your screen right now. So the button is a seat with the dealer chip in front of it. You're probably familiar with that one. And the cutoff is the seat directly to the right of the button. Now, why are these the best seats in poker? The reason why is because you get to act last on the flop, turn, and river, which is a massive advantage in a game of incomplete information like poker. You get to see what they do first. This is going to allow you to win so many more pots by simply betting when they show weakness and taking down many more pots. You're going to be able to get more value bets in. We're going to talk about that in a moment coming up here. But bottom line, guys, you want to take advantage of these seats at the poker table by playing all sorts of more speculative hands, as I like to call them. Let me give you some examples. A 10-8 of spades, an ace-3 of diamonds, a king-10 offsuit. And by the way, when I say offsuit, it just means it's 2 different suits. So in this case, the King of Hearts and the 10 of spades. I would also suggest playing from the button and the cutoff the 8-6 of clubs, the 7-9 of hearts, the queen-10 offsuit, the jack-9 of diamonds. I think you guys get the idea. The suits don't actually matter so much. The main takeaway here, guys, is that you want to raise lots more hands like this on the button or the cutoff, the 2 best seats at the poker table. This is going to allow you to win so many more pots. Number 3, pot control top pair. All right, guys, so let me give you a robust strategy here that you can take right after you're done watching this video and start using it against good poker players. Many of my students come to me in particular and say, Nathan, I know how to play against the fish. Give me some good strategies to beat decent players. So here's one that you can use that I'm going to show you right now. So you raise it up with the queen jack offsuit. That's the queen of diamonds and the jack of spades. Flop comes down with the jack of hearts, 9 of spades, and 5 of diamonds. So boom, we have hit top pair. This is a decent spot for us to be in. However, it is crucially important that you understand that we do not have a premium hand in this situation. There are many hands that a good player can have that are well ahead of us here. For example, ace jack, king jack, those are both top pair but with a higher kicker. This player could also have a hand like pocket queens, which is an overpair to the board, or they could have a hand like pocket nines, which is 3 of a kind on the flop. So what should you do in a spot like this? Well, you should definitely go ahead and just bet on the flop. They call in this situation. So let's go see the turn now of the 7 of hearts. So this is a little bit of a dicey spot here. This is not the best card for our hand. I forgot to mention the straight draws on the flop. For example, a hand like 10-8 is really happy now on the turn because they've just made the 7, 8, 9, 10 jack straight. This card also will complete a couple 2 pairs, a hand like 9-7, for example. So typically in a spot like this, I like to slow down. This is what I mean by pot controlling, and you do that by checking here. They check behind, so let's go see the river now of the 3 of spades. So this is a total brick. This does not complete any other of the draws. This is not a higher card, so we still have top pair. What should you do in this spot? Guys, you want to bet big. You want to value bet 80% of the pot, and let me tell you why. What you've done throughout this hand is you've created what I call deception value. This is a term that I introduced in my third poker book, and let me break that down in detail for you here. This play that I've just showed you is what I call the stop and go. Basically, you bet the flop, you slow down on the turn, and then you bomb the river. The reason why this is so powerful is because you've created deception in their mind when you check on the turn. They don't think you have anything, so they're just going to put you on a bluff when you make a big bet on the river. So guys, this is the way to get maximum value out of good players. Number 4, punish the limpers. So guys, I'm going to give you a strategy here to just simply pick up the free money at the poker table. So let's imagine you're in a $1, $2 cash game and you look down at a beautiful little hand, the ace 7 of diamonds. By the way, if you want to know all the hands that I suggest playing, I have the complete list for all positions at the poker table in my free poker cheat sheet. I will leave a link to that in the description below. It's totally free. You can memorize the charts for yourself and you'll never have to guess what hands to play again. But you're in the big blind with the ace 7 of diamonds. This hand is on those charts, by the way, because this is a beautiful little suited ace, and 3 people limp. Now let me explain what limping is first. Limping is when you just call the blind before the flop. So if you're in a $1, $2 game, that would be just calling the $2. I would highly suggest that you do not do this, because all you are doing is announcing your weakness to the table. You are letting everybody know that you don't have a very strong hand. You probably have some sort of trash like an 8-5 of hearts, a king 9 offsuit, pocket 3s, etc. These are the types of hands that most people have when they just limp into the pot. So what should you do sitting there in the big blinds with a nice little hand like the ace of diamonds and 7 of diamonds? Guys, I would jack it up big here. I will typically make it around $15 to go here, and as I always say, the number is not so important. What you want to focus on is whatever amount is ideally going to get you one caller, or getting them all to fold is fine as well, in your poker games. This is going to differ. Some games it's going to be $15, some games it might be $30, some games it might be $8. You get the idea. In a situation like this, don't wrap the check button like everybody else. Raise it up big, make them pay, punish the limpers, pick up the free money, and thank me later. Number 5, 3 streets of value. So let's talk about getting maximum value now versus our fishy friends, the recreational poker players who just play the game for fun. So we already talked about how to get the maximum value versus the good poker players, but we're going to use a little bit of a different strategy versus the recreational players. In this situation, you want to bet the flop, turn, and river, because they're not thinking about the game on a deep level. So guys, this strategy is all about never leaving money on the table. You raise it up with the ace king, that's the ace of hearts and the king of clubs, and once again, one of the weak players, one of the recreational players, one of our fishy friends makes the call. So we know that this player is going to have a very wide range of junky, trashy hands. They're going to be playing all sorts of garbage like a ace 3 offsuit, a king 8, queen 9. I could go on and on. I'm sure you've played against these players many times. So let's go see the flop now. So the flop comes down with the king of diamonds, 8 of spades, and 5 of spades. Boom, we have hit top pair, top kicker on this board. What you want to do in this situation is lay the hammer down. Remember guys, this is a recreational player who can have so many trashy hands in a spot like this, so many weaker pairs, so many draws. So I'd recommend that you bet big in this situation. They call. Turn comes down with the 3 of hearts, a total brick. What should you do? This is where a lot of amateurs and beginners make the mistake of getting tricky or getting gun shy. What you want to do is keep your foot on the gas pedal and make another strong bet in this situation, but they decide to go ahead and call. So let's go see the river now of the queen of hearts, and this is the most crucial part of the hand. You need to bet big once again. Guys, let's remember that a recreational player can have so many worse pairs in a situation like this. They could have a hand like king 9, 8-6, queen 7, pocket 9s. I could go on and on, guys. guys, there are so many worse hands that a fishy recreational player can have in a situation like this. The best way to get maximum value versus these players is to bet strong on the flop, turn, and river. Lay the hammer down versus these players. Make them pay for playing all of their trashy hands, and you're gonna have a lot more success at the poker tables. Number 6, make the big folds. Alright guys, so let's talk about a totally different situation now. Sometimes you just need to understand when a one pair hand is no good, and that is because poker is all about understanding the player type you're up against, and we're up against a totally different player type in this hand. So you raise it up with pocket rockets, that's the ace of hearts and the ace of diamonds, the best hand ever created, and a nit calls you. Now alarm bells need to be going off here guys, because the nit, or sometimes called the rock, is the tightest player at the table. This is the polar opposite of our fishy friends, the recreational players. The nit is the player that has been sitting in the corner quietly for the last half hour or hour, just folding every hand. Basically, they're sitting around waiting for the nut. And the nuts is just a slang term in poker that we use for the best hand possible, or one of the best hands possible. And basically what I mean is they're only playing really strong hands. So let's go see the flop now of the 9 of spades, 4 of diamonds, and 3 of hearts. So we've got pocket aces in a spot like this, guys. What you want to do here is just make a strong bet. There's no reason to screw around on a totally harmless flop like this. There's almost no draws on this board, however this player calls. So if a recreational player calls me in a spot like this, I'm not too worried. It's okay. I know they have all sorts of trash, but remember guys, this is the tightest player at the table. They have something in a situation like this. They're not messing around. So the turn comes down with the 10 of diamonds. What should you do? Well, I would recommend making another strong bet again. Guys, remember, we still have pocket aces here. There's no reason to get gun shy. There's no reason to get tricky. You just want to get paid. You just want to get max value. So you make a strong bet here, but they go ahead and raise. So let me tell you something else that you probably already know about the nit or the rock. This is also the most passive player at the table. And now let me ask you a question. Do you know any players who are extremely tight and extremely passive who are going to call you before the flop, on the flop, and then they're going to raise you on the turn with a bluff? I think you already know the answer to this question, guys. They don't exist. This player has the nuts here. They have a hand like pocket 9s for 3 of a kind, pocket 4s for 3 of a kind, pocket 3s for 3 of a kind, or they hit the 3 of a kind with pocket 10s on the turn, or they have a hand like 9-10 for 2 pair. Guys, bottom line, you need to be folding your 1 pair hand in a situation like this, and believe me, I know that this is difficult. My students in particular complain about spots just like this all the time with pocket aces and pocket kings. But it is absolutely vital that you understand the player type that you're up against when you're in a hand of poker, and believe me, the tightest and most passive player at the table is not raising you here on the turn with a bluff. They have you crushed here, and the best thing you can do is fold your 1 pair hand and move on to the next one. Number 7, use your position. Alright guys, so I'm going to give you a little bit more of an advanced strategy here about how to call on the flop even when you have nothing. This is one of the top trouble spots for a lot of beginner and amateur players, especially when you're up against one of those aggressive players who plays a lot of hands and is always trying to bluff you. Let me show you how to beat these players right now. So you raise it up with ace queen, that's the ace of hearts, and the queen of spades, and once again one of these aggressive maniacs calls you. So we know this player is going to have a lot of crazy hands, trashy hands, and they're going to be trying to bluff you after the flop as well. So let's keep that in mind as the flop comes down with the 10 of hearts, 8 of spades, and deuce of clubs. So this is a pretty harmless board. There's not too many draws here, but crucially, we don't have anything. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but this is the most common situation that you're going to find yourself in at the poker table. 2 out of every 3 times on average when you go to see the flop in poker with a random hand, you will miss the flop. So what do you do in a spot like this versus an aggressive player? So they decide to bet into you here. That's what aggressive players do after all. What should you do? Guys, in a spot like this, a lot of people would say, oh, maybe you should fold your hand. After all, we have nothing. Yeah, you could do that, but you don't win pots in poker by folding. Now, a lot of other people would say, oh, why don't we just bluff them right back? Guys, the problem with that strategy is you don't beat a bluffy player by trying to bluff them right back. You're just playing into their game. So what is the best strategy here? The best thing you can do with your ace queen on the 10-8 deuce board here is to just call. And let me tell you why right now. Remember, we are up against a loose and aggressive player, and this is the range of hands that they are bluffing us with here a lot. It is hands like ace jack, ace nine, king queen, king jack, queen jack, 9-7, 7-6, pocket nines, pocket sevens, pocket sixes. Guys, I could go on and on for days. Most of these hands have either nothing at all, some sort of weak draw, or some sort of weak pair in a situation like this. So there is no reason why we should be folding in this spot. We're actually ahead of many of these hands still with our ace queen high. So the best thing that you can do versus this range of hands is to just call and allow them to continue bluffing at this pot. Guys, the bottom line is that versus loose and aggressive players, the best strategy is to simply call them down. It is not to try to bluff them back, and it is not to fold either, because you still have the best hand most of the times. So guys, especially when you're acting last in a spot like this, use your position to outplay these players, and when they check later on in the hand, you can make a bet and simply take the pot down. Alright guys, like and subscribe if you found this video helpful, and once again, if you want to know my entire strategy to absolutely crush the small and mid stakes games, make sure you grab a copy of my free poker cheat sheet. I will leave a link to that in the description below. Thanks a lot for watching guys, all the best at the poker tables unless you're on mine.